music on Fair Island was of two sources. There was the church organ and the accordion, the button accordion. There was one guitar on the island that I remember before we left, but the person who had it couldn't play it. And two of the guys that were 2 or 3 years older than me, they tried to fool around with making a guitar at one time, and they did very well, but they didn't have the proper strings to put on it, so they just put wire on it. So that wasn't a source of music for us. It was the organ and the button accordion, and the harmonica. We were Church of England on Fair Island, and at that time, you know, the religion was pretty strict with regards to what you did on Sundays. And we couldn't play jigs or reels on Sundays, so I'd come out of church and play hymns. The only time that I heard accordion players was when they played for the square dances during those times. The Society of United Fishermen, the SUF, and they paraded and had their time in Candlemas Day, February the 2nd. And the Orange Young Britons, they had their parade dinner and time at night on Boxing Day, and the Loyal Orange Lodge, they did the same thing on New Year's Day. So those were the three particular big events that people look forward to in the winter. I started playing the accordion for square dances, giving my father a spell. Once I started playing the dance, I didn't take a spell. And I went right on through to the end. Well, I played for the dances on Fair Island a year or two before I left. And I remember distinctly some of the moves that they did that were really, really nice to watch, you know, because there was people dance, but there were a lot of people in the lodge watching it too. And there was always someone who would carry on with some antics, you know, that would provide a lot of fun. But so when I thought about this project, I wanted to recapture that. They have continued dancing out in Centerville, which is where most of the people moved off Fair Island. But and I was out there to play for some of them, and the way they dance now is different from what they were doing when I played on the island. So I realized that I wanted to try to capture the old way of doing it. And what I really remember was that the dancers were really tuned in to the timing of the music. I know of one fellow, Elias Pickett, brought a new tune back to Fair Island from somewhere along the way, and it was he played it as a 6/8, but basically I found out afterwards, coming in here and you know, learning more music, that it was she said she couldn't dance as a 2/4. This one he referred to as ring me ding me ding, ring me ding me ding, ring me ding me ding-o, ring me ding me ding, something like that, you know. All I remembered is ring me ding me ding, right? So it goes you know, which as I found out in later years was she said she couldn't dance in 2/4. You know, and so I, as I said earlier,
decided to do this with Muscles in the Corner. Muscles goes. That was my, I suppose, first example of composing something, or doing something on my own other than playing what other people had or what everybody else was playing. After resettlement, and just after that, the highway went through the province, and it came down to those along the bays and so on. So then you had nightclubs starting up, and people started going to, and there were bands starting up, guitar bands, drums and bass, and they were the bands that provided the music for the dancing in the clubs, because that dancing was the song, the pop tunes at the time, and mostly the country and western songs from they were hearing on radio. There were still people playing the accordion with those kinds of country and western groups, and that was the next phase for accordion playing. They continued that, and some people like Wilf Doyle went around the island giving shows for people, and he was a fantastic accordion player. I didn't play until I was in the 80s, and I was listening to the music of Figgy Duff. And Figgy Duff again is another band that was playing in the 70s with a great accordion player. And when I heard those recordings, well, it spurred me to try to get back to playing, because it was different repertoire from what I knew. And my repertoire was limited, and now that I'm listening, because listening is the key, now that I'm listening, I hear more music that I'd like to play, and it was the impetus for me to get back into music. And then also in the 80s, I was teaching down at McDonald Drive, and Scott Hewlett was a colleague, and he was doing a session, volunteering on CHMR on radio, and I listened to his shows, and he was playing the Irish stuff. And that's and there's another one. The same note repeated 3 times, a triplet.
And I remember hearing tunes that I said, wow, this is the best piece of music that I've ever heard. And I started to learn how to play Calliope House by using the Suzuki Talent Education Program method, whereby you listen and listen and listen, because our girls came up to this program, and I was even the president of it for a couple of years. And I went through all their lessons with them, took notes. I decided to follow that philosophy and procedure, and I learned how to play Calliope House slowly. And then I sped it up. And I was so proud when I could play it, because I said to myself, well, if you can play one, you can play others. And then I heard other pieces that were better, and I said, oh, I thought the other one was the best piece, but this is. And eventually I got to the point where I said, well, there's no best piece. There's so much music out there that, and that's been the case. I listen and listen and listen a lot to Irish music, and I'm hearing stuff all the time that I love to play, and I'm playing it. I'm learning, I'm practicing every day.
Wow. Music for a found harmonium, composed by the Penguin Cafe Orchestra from Winnipeg, I think. Yes. So here's one called the Hot Rod Reel. Got his name when I played it at the Blarney Stone at Folk Night one night with Gene Houston playing the guitar and Rick West on the boron. And I didn't have a name for it, and it was sort of got away on me. It was going so fast, and Gene Houston said, "I know what you can call that." He said, "You can call that the Hot Rod Reel." That's that one.
I play with, mainly I played downtown at Rocket with a group of guys, 4 of us who started when Janet Kelly opened up Anti-Craze down on Water Street, which would have been about 10 years ago. So we have played there every Tuesday practically since.
Session.